Tonight, a judge appoints a special prosecutor in the police killing of Jay Anderson Jr. Officer Joseph Mensah shot and killed Anderson back in June of 2016 in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I know I screwed that one up. Anderson was sleeping in a parked car when he was confronted by the former officer. Mensah claims he shot Anderson in self-defense after he reached for a gun. The local DA and the U.S. attorney both declined to prosecute the case. But this week, a judge ruled there was probable cause to proceed with charges based on a petition brought by the Andersons' family attorney using a little-known provision of Wisconsin law known as the John Doe Law. Under this law, a judge can bypass prosecutors and conduct a hearing where they directly question witnesses and make a ruling as to probable cause. In this case, the judge found that there was enough to charge the former officer with homicide by negligent use of a weapon. As required by the John Doe Law, the judge will now appoint a special prosecutor to decide whether to file charges and prosecute the case. In response to the decision, Mensah's attorney said the judge heard evidence, quote, from one side and one side only. We're glad to have Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, Jay's parents, along with attorney Kimberley Motley. Thank you guys for appearing tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. Linda and Jay, to you first. We saw you celebrating this news yesterday. Please describe the feelings that you both felt after learning the judge's ruling.
I felt a relief. This has been 5 years coming, and Kim brought it all out, and we appreciate her as a lawyer. The fight she did was excellent, and I just felt at relief when the judge made his decision.
Yes, it was tears of joy for me. I cried very hard. It was just tears of joy, and it's a step towards justice.
Mm-hmm. What have the last few years been like for you both? I mean, to have the local and federal prosecutors decline to bring the charges, I can't imagine what kind of anxiety, concern, sadness, I mean, just a whole host of emotions. What has it been like for you all?
Well, we kind of, knew that they didn't investigate this case. Everything was kind of swept under the rug. The district attorney did not even know if the window was broken out, so I knew that he didn't even go through the case. So it's been hard. It's been hard, and I'm glad that things came out that came out.
The truth came out.
Mr. Anderson, what about you?
Yeah, the truth came out, and they threw us. It just threw us under the rug and lied about everything and interviewed the officer for 47 minutes. It was just, they treated us like trash.
Mm-hmm. Kimberly, to you, what was your thought? How do you respond to the attorney who's representing this officer saying that the judge heard only one side and one side only? Because to me, that sounds like what happens generally in a grand jury proceeding, right?
I mean, absolutely. It happens with all prosecutions in America. Usually it's a prosecutor that evaluates evidence and they make charging decisions based on usually one side of the story. So I certainly think that Mensah's attorney's response is pathetic. Mensah was also a witness that we subpoenaed with regards to this John Doe hearing. We actually asked him, subpoenaed him to come and testify to tell his side of the story, but instead of coming, Mensah hid, and he decided not to come to court, and instead he sent his lawyer to argue that he has the right to remain silent, which is his constitutional right, and he didn't come to court. So he had the opportunity to come to court and testify with me questioning him and the judge questioning him, but he cowardly decided not to do that. In addition to that, Mensah has frankly controlled the narrative, unfortunately, for the last 5 years. He had 2 interviews with conservative news radio. He certainly wouldn't talk to you guys, with your reputable media organization, but he only talked to the right. Whereas on behalf of the Andersons, we talked to the right, the left, the middle, and everybody because we didn't have anything to hide. So I think it's a very pathetic response. And frankly, if he wants the world to hear his story, why isn't Mensah doing interviews right now? Let him go out in front of the microphone and tell the world what happened, because we're listening.
Well, why do you think local and federal prosecutors decided not to bring charges?
Well, I think part of the reason, unfortunately, is there's a lot of bias between the county district attorney's office investigating a police department or a police officer with whom works within the same county. So I think that's the problem. And it's whether you want to call it implicit bias or it to be, just straight up bias, I think that's a real issue. With this particular case, the problem was, and I know Mensah's attorney keeps jumping up and down and saying this response, is that the DA's office, the county DA's office of Milwaukee, did not do a good investigation or barely did any investigation. For instance, they only questioned Mensah for 47 minutes, and they did not record that conversation. And in that very short 47-minute interrogation, they didn't record it. There were inconsistencies that he was saying, and they never bothered to check up on him. So when the DA decided not to prosecute or not to charge him, they then sent that same exact investigative file to the federal government, and the federal government reviewed the same flawed investigative file. They did not do any of their own independent investigation, and they came to the same conclusion as the DA's office did. So if you want to call that an investigation or the federal government declining charges, sure. But they didn't do any investigation. They relied completely on the investigation of the state DA.
Of course. So with this special prosecutor, where is this person coming from, if not from within the county?
Well, I mean, frankly, the judge can appoint, if he chooses to, any lawyer that's licensed in the state of Wisconsin. So it doesn't have to be. I think the problem is a lot of people think the special prosecutor has to be someone that works in a prosecution office, which is not true. It can literally be any attorney that's licensed in the state of Wisconsin.
Now, can you explain how this John Doe law works and how you first got this judge to take another look at Mr. Anderson's case?
Well, basically, this John Doe law is under Wisconsin Statute 968, Chapter 968. And basically what it is it's a law that says that if a prosecutor is unable or unwilling to, issue a complaint or basically, move forward with charges, that a court on their own motion may find probable cause and issue a petition. So with regards to this case, because the prosecutor decided not to charge Joseph Mensah, the families petitioned the court with their own motion, to bring evidence before the judge and to listen to witnesses and to listen to testimony, which the judge agreed to do that. And based on that evidence and testimony that was brought before the court, the judge reviewed that. We had 5 hearings on it. We had spent multiple hours on this, and the judge determined that there was definitely probable cause to charge Mensah with a crime. There's always been probable cause.
Which is a very little threshold too to meet, and a lot of people don't realize that as well. Linda and Jay, back to you. Can you tell us more about the support you've gotten, not just from your amazing attorney here, but from your community?
Yes, we've gotten a lot of support from the community, special groups, the Wauwatosa, TPR, and a lot of people, are here to help us because they know what Joseph Mensah did was wrong. So yes, we had a lot of support in this case.
Support. Jacob Blake, a lot of people from all over the Floyds, everybody's been behind us. So we love that. The support is what helped with this case. Kimberley did it, but they've been marching for 400 some days. They haven't stopped, and they're not going to stop, and they're going to keep going.
Well, you can definitely add us to the list. We're here to support you, amplify this case as much as possible, and definitely you have an open invite to come back, all 3 of you. Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, Kimberley Motley, thank you so much for your time.